So we're doing part 2 of this one-to-one that actually started a whole hour ago, right?
But we've been busy.
Yes, we're looking at part 2 of some slides that I've got to do with chambers. Now this is Barcloddiad y Garres. Now,
what's it called?
A Barcloddiad. BARCLODDIAD.
Yeah.
Ir Garres. GAWRES. Barcloddiad y Garres.
Da, as in DA. Da.
No, da. What? No.
Da.
No, Barcloddiad. BAR.
Oh, B. Right.
Yeah, Barcloddiad y Garres. GWRES. Which means the giant's apron.
Oh.
Which has absolutely got nothing to do with anything.
Well.
But anyway, this site itself, that chamber there, right? So obviously in the landscape, this is on the coast of Anglesey, southern part of Anglesey, and you can see the very hardy rocks there, and you can see little bits of quarrying activity there on the left.
Right. Yeah.
Quarrying there on the right. Remember, this would be very much further away from the coast when this was constructed, around 5,000 years ago, right? Now, the last time I went to this site, there was a guy in there who calls himself an archaeologist called Professor George Nash. He's not a real professor, right? And he was in there one day, whilst I had my party from Archaeology Cymru with us, right? And this sort of fake archaeologist, Professor George Nash, he was in there with 2 people taking rubbings of the carvings inside there, right? So I was outside, and there was like a curtain or something across, and we had a key, and he had a key, and I just knocked it, and I said, "Hang on a minute, what are you doing in there? We've actually got permission from Cadw to be here." And it turned out that Cadw were really irate that this guy had made a copy of the key himself.
I expect they were, yeah.
They weren't happy, right? So this George Nash character, who purports to be an archaeologist, said that he had every right to be there, and Cadw actually turned out they said he didn't, and they were going to have a word with him, right? So he'd made a copy of the key for it, and he was actually taking rubbings of the carvings inside there. Wait for it, using crude plastic sheeting and like a blue tack. So when he peeled some of this away, the blue tack was actually taking some of the sandstone off the rock.
Oh dear.
So that is a criminal offence to cause damage to this. Anyway, this is my experience of this chamber, right? And this is on the backdrop also that mound on top there is actually a modern mound, right?
When you say modern, how old, sort of?
Well, that mound itself was put there about I think about 30 odd years ago or something like that.
Oh right, okay.
On top of the remains under there.
Yeah. Was that to keep it safe?
Well, actually, it's not keeping it safe at all, because the perspiration inside there is so great. The dampness is so great, and the perspiration on the stones is probably causing adverse damage to the stones anyway, because it's sort of lined inside.
Yes.
So when everything's sweating, it's got nowhere to go.
Damaging it.
Yeah, it's really humid, and it's causing damage to the stone. So whatever they've done to actually shelter and protect it is actually doing untold damage. Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is what you see when you actually go there.
Right. So that's modern then, really. That.
Yeah, this is modern. Yeah. So there's
is modern.
Yeah, there's a set of gate. This is an old set of gates in the front, and then they removed this and they put another set of gates further behind, which are more sturdier gates. And you can actually get the key from the local people, from the local shop down the road. Yeah.
Oh, that's cool, isn't it, to be able to do that?
So they've sort of given it some protection, right? Hang on a minute. Hang on a minute. There's somebody ringing.
Okay.
So this site itself has got some really weird stories associated with it. When they excavated it, they found what they believed to have been some kind of brew which had bones of little animals, including little frogs in there, right? And somebody said that there was like some kind of offering in there. So there's loads of like weird things associated with it. And when you actually go through there, when you go to the site now, that gate isn't there. There's one further back. So when you go into it, you've seen the top of the mound. There it is. And that quarry is rather interesting, but that quarry is quite a big quarry. It's probably not the quarry that the stones have actually come from, because that's quite a large area that's been moved there. So when you actually go inside, now that iron gate in front has actually been changed. And the problem is,
you mean about the mound over it? Because this wall is for the mound, is it?
Yeah, this wall is yeah, but basically what you've got, you're going in there now, you've gone in there, so the mound on top of it is artificial, is a modern mound, and the problem is you can see the damage being caused to these stones.
Yes.
But because this is a concrete mound, if you're going to reconstruct something that is relatively authentic, you need to actually, it may actually also be that it never had a mound on it in the first place. I can understand why they're protecting it, right? But they've used completely the wrong materials to protect it.
Yes.
You know, in Scotland, they experiment with tempered glass. So you can actually go and actually look around it, into it.
Yeah.
And obviously, glass makes things breathe a lot better, right? So as you go in, you've got these stones that are beyond that. So you go directly in and you look at that. This is all sort of a modern gate now, right? And you've got the key, and you can tell where the algae is sort of on the surface and attacking it more, which is
that's not good, is it?
That's not good. No, that isn't good at all. But then you sort of go in, and this is what you see, and it's actually, to be honest with you, it's damp all the time, and it's causing that sort of damage. There are carvings on the stones, but again, that's quite a large slab, and it's the local rocks. And the main thing is, actually, do you know one thing? It would be good to sort of type in a minute. I'm saying I'm talking about sandstones, right? I'm talking about like an old sandstone. It'd be good just to sort of nail. Yeah, the giant's apron. And there's carvings in there which I've mentioned, which we're not seeing today. And some of the notes. This is what I was on about earlier on. Inside the main chamber, when they were excavating, they found like an arrangement, like some kind of concoction, and it had like the remains of bones, toad, eel, wrasse, grass snake, mouse, shoe, and hair. And there was limpets and pebbles, and some people sort of interpret that as some kind of spell of some kind, but it could equally be for any reason.
Do those things date to the age of the stones, or is that later?
It could be later. It was excavated in 1952, 1953, when they didn't have the science to do that. And they've obviously sort of covered this up. It could have actually been covered just in a shell mound, actually. And you know what? When you actually do a little bit of research on these things, it doesn't actually tell you what stones they're actually using. So the best way to work that one out is to actually sod what people are saying. Go to a geological map, right? So if you go to a geological map, and you could probably work this out quite easily, what stones are actually using. So geological map of Wales, and if you go to a geological map of Wales, and it's likely that it's a rather difficult one. So if I'll show you this now, right? So trying to work out what the stone is there. So you've got the geological map there. Sedimentary, and so if we, fortunately with geological maps, there's only slight differences between the colors here. So if you're trying to work out the color,
oh yeah, that's,
I can't. This is what we're talking about. This type of color here.
oh, that's like a dirty pink, isn't it?
Yeah. So if in doubt, go with another map. Oh, this one looks a little bit more straightforward, but then again, no, it don't. So it's likely some of these old sort of sandstones that we're talking about, because it definitely sandstony type stone in there. Oh, this makes a little bit a carboniferous limestone, right? And you got this Precambrian rock as well. So the stone in there definitely looks sandstony, but it's in sort of a carboniferous area. So if we go to where this Barclodiad Garris is, and we sort of get a map of where that is, and we can sort of nail it. It's a shame that in these descriptions it doesn't actually say
what the stone is, isn't it?
Yeah, where this actually is. And so, and it's showing as, right, okay, if we go back again and we sort of go like that, you got this map there showing?
Yes.
So if we look at that there and we compare it with the geological map, it sort of takes us directly to that green stuff, which is Cambrian rock. It's in an area of Cambrian rock, so we know what rock it is, right? So the only thing we need to do now is work out what Cambrian rock is. Yeah, it's definitely Cambrian rock. So the chamber's made of Cambrian rock. So what exactly is Cambrian rock? And then we'll have the answer. So Cambrian rock, it's sort of, is it going to tell us? So it's talking about Cambrian rock being, because they are if they contain animals, then it's obviously a sedimentary rock, right? So it's a really old rock, rock there that's hundreds of millions of years old.
Yeah, wow, 541 million years ago.
Exactly. So it doesn't exactly say what type. So actually, so Cambrian rock, is it sandstone? So we type that in. Is it sandstone? It's not actually, but obviously it's a sedimentary rock. So, oh yes, sandstone. It's a sandstone. So I was right all along. Cambrian sandstone. Yeah. So but back to what we were saying at the beginning, as he's peeling the blue tack off it, he's damaging.
Yeah, damaging it.
Yeah, and obviously because it's sandstone, you get bacteria and it gets into the grains and it damages the stone. So in line with what we were saying last time, we were saying about, are these just used as burial chambers, or were they used for something else? Right. And if you think of a mound being over this, was a mound over it, and all those different questions.
Yeah.
So here's a little bit, that sort of information I was reading. So in there, during the excavations, they got 5 stones with carvings, spirals, zigzag lozenges, and chevrons. And the 6th stone with carvings was discovered in 2001. Now I can remember when he was recording what was in there, there was almost as if there was a ship design carved into one of the stones.
Yeah.
Which isn't in this description, which it would be in this description, which is quite strange.
Well, they could have been added over the years, couldn't they? The carvings.
Yeah, the carvings could have been added for any time, and that's sort of what we're talking about.
Yes.
You know, when you look at these things, it's sometimes presumed that they're all of one date. They're all of one moment in time, but that's obviously not the case.
No.
Because they've been changed. Like this is what we learned from the other chambers. They used over 5,500 years. People are still putting bones in them, and they're still leaving offerings and all sorts of things in them.
Yes.
And actually, we've gone away from that now. We're actually on the Gower.
Yay.
Now I've shown this before in some of the other classes. This massive boulder here is actually King Arthur's stone. Right now, King Arthur's stone is a big, huge stone, 25 tons in weight, a quartz conglomerate boulder. Now, the quartz conglomerate boulder has probably been brought in by glaciation, left on this landscape. It's a huge stone, 4 meters in length, 2 meters in depth. So if we sort of go and have a quick look at that again, that's a really chunky stone, right? Dating probably, I would go with the dates more like 5,500 years ago rather than 3,500 years BC. And interesting enough, it was one of the first sites to be protected under the Ancient Monuments Act of 1882.
Oh, right.
So it's one of the first in Britain. It's saying, I didn't know this little bit, right? Listen to this. I didn't know this. Now, we think its weight is around 25 tons. Rather, when a Tinkinswood burial chamber is around 50 tons. Now, because this is a quartz conglomerate boulder, right, which is really more compacted together, it's probably heavier than 25 tons, I would argue. But anyway, it says that previous to 1693, the boulder was much larger than this until an accident knocking more than 10 tons of it to the ground in a clear break. So how can you...
Oh, an incident.
I thought it said accident, incident. Oh, incident. So somebody went up there and thought, all right, what I'll do, we'll spend a few hours up here and we'll break part of it off.
Yeah. Wow, why would you do that? I mean, 10 ton is a lot to knock off it, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right. It's quite a lot. Exactly. Nobody is sure how this almighty event took place, but many theories exist. Some say that a miller attempted to remove a chunk of the rock to make a new millstone, but that the piece proved too heavy to move. Others suggest it was struck by lightning during a violent storm, or that Saint David, the patron saint of Wales, himself split the stone with his mighty sword in defiance of the Druid worship centered around it. Whatever the cause, the broken part can still be found alongside the monument, demoted to the ground.
Wow, that's interesting to know.
And recorded in 1485 in the August, after the August the 7th, for instance, it is recorded that Henry VII's troops, having landed at Milford Haven en route to give battle at Bosworth, made 128-kilometer detour to visit the stone. What a load of bollocks! Mind my French. Why would they make a detour to whilst they... No.
15th, it's recorded. Well, it's recorded.
Well, no.
Does that mean it's true?
Yeah, it's got to be true. Yeah, it's got to be true. Yeah. In the 1500s, the site was listed as one of the 3 mighty achievements of the Isle of Britain. One being Stonehenge, Silbury Hill. So like, when you think about it, it would have been over 35 tons back in the 1500s, because it was in 1693 that bit was broken off. Anyway, despite such exaltation, it is now believed that no great exertion was employed in erecting this monument. And why? Right. It was likely that that's always been there. I'll tell you a couple of little bits and bobs now, right? Goes on to say, although the construction of this portal dolmen seems a magnificent feat, it is most likely that the Neolithic builders used a boulder conveniently deposited upon Cefn Bryn by a glacial ice sheet that during the last great ice age, the builders would have excavated beneath the immense rock, inserting the upright stones as they dug, creating 2 burial chambers. So in other words, what they did, you can imagine, this is sat on the landscape, right?
Yes.
So there's all rubble and stuff around, part of a glacier moraine and whatever, right? So the way of doing this is to go under one corner, right? Insert a big boulder, right?
Yeah.
And then go alongside it, and that's what they've done there. They put another stone alongside it. That doesn't need to support at all. And they've kept going around, and eventually all the earth has been removed underneath. They've inserted stones to support it. Job done, Bob's your uncle.
Clever.
And it makes it look like it's been suspended by our ancestors. But lots of these things by our ancestors are by sort of flukes.
Yeah.
By flukes. This is Arthur's stone on the Gower, right? Arthur's the great mine Ketty.
I know it well.
I knew Ketty. She was the love of my life. Don't leave me.
Oh.
Well, like maybe she was.
Ketty.
Ketty. She was related to Sweaty. Sweaty Ketty. Right. Anyway, right. Where were we? Let's get back to the images. Right. So so that's that. And there's little bits and pieces here. Dewi Bowen's book, Ancient Siluria, that the local astronomer Richard Roberts believes that Arthur's stone is part of an astronomical construct together with the alignment of other landmarks visible from Cefn Bryn. So here we go. The common people call it Arthur's stone by a lift of vulgar imagination, attributing it to a hero of an extravagant size and strength, recorded Edward Cloyd. And an Egyptologist is, this is really weird. The famous Egyptologist Sir Gardner Wilkinson was first to excavate the tomb in 1870. He's a bloody Egyptologist. And claimed that the path, what's he doing now? I think he got lost on the way to the great pharaohs. Claimed that the pathway followed by the ghostly apparition seen by many of King Arthur on a white steed is the remains of a stone avenue. There's a song there.
Yeah.
The avenue and alleyways. Right, anyway. Understandably, due to its ancient origin, there are many fables to accompany the stone. Legend says that the stone claims its name from King Arthur, who found a rock in his shoe and threw it all the way from Carmarthenshire straight over the Bury Estuary to Cefn Bryn. Touched by the hand of King Arthur, the stone physically grew with pride, and the surrounding stones raised it high with admiration. I think that's a good one. I like it.
That's a great story, isn't it?
That's a great one, yeah. Another story bizarrely tells us that the stone travels over Cefn Bryn as the cock crows to quench its thirst at a local stream, and Gower Druid tradition tells us that a young maiden could test whether the man she loved would remain faithful to her. Beneath the light of the full moon, she would offer the magical stone a cake made from barley meal, honey and milk, and then circle the stone on her hands and knees 3 times. If the man she loved appeared before her on the final circuit, she knew she had chosen a faithful suitor. I think we've been doing the wrong thing.
Yeah, clearly.
The problem is you went around the right way, and as Tom went around the wrong way, you met him. So, if Tom had gone around the right way, you would never have met him, you see?
No. That's true.
And amazingly enough, we're at Pentra Iwan, where we started last week. Pentra Iwan. Say it proper, innit? Like Pentra Iwan. Pentra Iwan itself in West Wales, glorious West Wales. Oh, hang on, we shouldn't even, right. Glorious West Wales. Now, this is a rather interesting little site, right? And the reason why it's a rather interesting little site is that it's the way it's balanced, right? You can see there it's balanced on 1, 2, 3 stones, but it's not balanced on this one.
Yeah.
It's sort of
on a time, wouldn't it?
Sort of a rockety type of stone. It is probably believed that this was erected exactly the same way as the Arthur stone. It may be that the stone may have been dragged into position on an earthen mound, and they simply erected the stones underneath it, which would make more sense. It'd be very difficult to put this. There's no way you could You couldn't do this unless you got a. So it's likely that there was an archaeologist called Frances Lynch was excavating here, and she said that as she excavated around the whole thing, there's this huge pit. Right? There's actually those stones are in a huge pit, so that bears out what we've said. So it is very likely that there was a mound of earth. This capstone was placed onto it, or it may have actually already been on the landscape on some kind of natural mound anyway, just like the one at Arthurstone. And then what happened is that they undermined to create the pit, and they got one corner, and then they excavated another area, and you put another one in, it all balanced, and that's basically what happened.
Yes.
So and actually the strangest thing is, right, the weirdest thing is about today is we did manage to get to the end of it, because that's the last of the slides.
Oh, that's good news, isn't it?
So no, it's not good news, because we got to tell you a tiny little bit about Pentra Iwan before you finish, and then we'll call it a day, and then I can go to the bank, and then I can stop looking at Cambrian stone. So we're going to put in Pentra Iwan. Pentra Iwan. Westers. When Pentra Iwan, all the sheep talk like this, you see. Well, that's what I say anyway. Right, so let's show you where this is. Hang on, let's just get a little map so we know where.
They do say that the crows and birds of an area do have their own accents. That's what it said on the radio yesterday anyway.
Yeah, I think they probably do. Right, we're going to show you where Pentra Iwan is, right? Let's show you where this is. Like, there you go. There is Pentra Iwan on the little plan. There it is.
Presili Hills, is it?
Near that. Near St. David's, near all that gubbins, right? So we've done that. So if we stop sharing, let's just give you a couple of little facts, and then that will be a day. A day.
Bluestones?
The Preseli Hills isn't far away, but this is going to be the local rock rather than the bluestones. This is going to be the local rock. However, we might find that answer out unless we've got to go to a geological map. So if we're just Pentra Iwan, la la. Whilst I'm looking at that, I'm just going to look at the geology. Actually, it would have been an Ordovician stone or somewhere like that, or Cambrian. It's sort of in that area. It's a bit of a mixed match of stone. So what we've got with Pentra Iwan is, hang on a minute. Pentra Iwan. Now, it's in the community of Nevin. And interesting enough, here we go. Another fact. Pentra Iwan Monument is a scheduled monument and is one of 3 Welsh monuments to have received legal protection under the Ancient Monuments Act 1882. So this was one of this, alongside the Arthurstone, is one of the first protected sites in Cymru. So the stone itself is around 16 tons, a huge capstone, 5 meters in length. This one, while the one at Arthurstone was 4 meters in length. This is 2.5 meters wide. The one at Arthurstone was 2 meters wide, but it's only it's under 1 meter thick, and the one at the Arthurstone is was 2 meters thick. So it said there are 6 upright stones there, 3 of which support the capstone. Of the remaining 3, 2 portal stones form an entrance. So it's sort of like we showed you a little bit of a plan last week. This is so we'll show you this. Have you got that?
Yeah, yes, I remember now.
Right, bear with me a minute. I'll just gotta go and get something. Hang on. And finally, so basically there's that capstone, and you've got the upright supporting it. And you've finally then got...
Going back to Bar Clothiad, Gowris, is that what they've tried to do up there with the mound over it?
It's actually very similar, isn't it?
If they tried to put, yeah, you know the
they've tried to make a reconstruction of it, yeah.
Yes.
To be honest with you, it just doesn't work.
And failed.
They've miserably failed with that. They really, really have. And
they'd be better off taking it down, wouldn't they?
I would agree. So basically, this dates to around about 5,500 years ago. And there's lots of various different theories. One of my lecturers, a Professor Colin Richards, produced a different explanation for the monument. And he basically said, so I'll read this one. He said, such monuments typically have a large capstone derived from a glacial erratic. So we mentioned that could be the case. Far bigger than is required or sensible if the aim is to roof a chamber. Furthermore, the capstone has a flat underside. Sometimes, as here, we mentioned this thing about the flat underside with the Tinkinswood last week. As here, this has been arrived at by splitting the rock at other sites. It's been worked to make it sort of smooth. The capstone is supported on the tapering lids of slender uprights. So it's just sort of, you can clearly, if you look at that just briefly, hang on a minute. Oh, you can see it, can't you? They're sort of tapered to support it, yeah?
Yes.
As at Pentra Iwan, there are often other stones within the group, but they play no part in holding up the capstone, as we said. And the resultant effect of the enormous stone appearing to float above the other stones would seem to be deliberate and desired. So in other words, there may have been no mound on top of it at all. If these are the elements of the monument, then it is argued the stones were never designed to be buried within a mound, you see?
Yes.
And they never formed a chamber to contain bones. Another point I was making last week.
Yes.
What we see today is the monument as it was intended to be seen. It might therefore represent a more elaborate version of a standing stone. Its purpose could be simply to demonstrate the status and skill of the builders, or to add significant and gravitas to an already significant place. And on that moment, right, we're going to call it a day. The site was excavated in 1948. It's been excavated at other times as well, and before that. But one thing I would say is that lots of the myths and legends associated with these chambers is that the one at Arthurstone, it goes to the local river to drink on the Gower.
Yeah.
Tinkinswood, no, not Tinkinswood, St. Lythan's burial chamber, there's a similar story, that the capstone evolves while the stones underneath go down for a drink at the local river, right? There's all these different things. And when you think about it, those are local legends before any of these archaeologists are writing about them. And maybe my old professor, Colin Richards, is completely correct. These were never meant to be surrounded in earth. They were never meant to be burial chambers.
No.
So what you're seeing is what was always meant to be seen. Just like the one at Claudio de Garras. On that note, are there any questions?
No, that was fascinating. Yes.
So a bit more next week then.
Time has flown.
Time has flown. Time has flown.
Do you want to do Wednesday or Friday next week?
We'll do Wednesday next week, or see.
Wednesday next week.
Yes, exactly. Good.
Excellent. Okay.
Excellent. And on that note,
have a good weekend.
I'm going to call it a day. So we'll see you next
Wednesday. I'm glad you're feeling better. Yes. Get off to the bank.
Get off. Oh, shit, I'm going to go to the bank. Yeah, exactly. Brilliant.
Yep.
Well, finally, is there anything else you want to ask me before you go?
No, I think we covered everything. It was great to chat.
Good.
Lovely.
Excellent. Lovely jubbly. All right, then. I will see you next Wednesday. And we'll have more chatter next Wednesday. And I've no idea what we're doing next Wednesday. But it's been a great doodah. And we'll see you then, Rosamond.
All right, hwyl.
Diolch yn
Hwyl.
fawr i chi.
And to he. Ta-da.
Speak to you soon. Oh, one last thing. The doodah. Oh, are you there? We have
Yeah.
the trumpet to end.
Well.
I was impressed by that as well. That was great.
See you soon. Ta-da.
See you soon, Rosamund. Bye. See you. Happy days. Sometimes mad archaeology is good archaeology, and I mentioned through that the fake archaeologist, Professor George Nash. Be very wary of him. He's a danger to archaeology, and don't ever be left alone with him. So yes, not a real archaeologist, and be very wary of him, and anything he says, he's very, very dangerous. So anyway, this is Karl-James Langford. Thanks for watching the video. Don't forget to subscribe and support down below. Thank you very much.